Sudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Jnanatimhendasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padai Sahagana Nabita Shri Vishakhantamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastite Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्णविष्णु भूतले प्रभुपाद प्रिय श्री गुरुराजाय शरणं सुभक्ताय भक्तव्यश्चात्मदाय नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णविष्णु भूतले भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयति गिरियत्कृपातनं श्रीगुरुर्गीतारणं हरे कृष्ण. So we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, in text 24. So this is a series of verses which is describing systematically purification of the heart and achievement of perfection. So it starts with as usual. So let's just revise a little bit. Okay, so how do we achieve self-realization? So this is from text. All right. Anyway, I don't know. The whole thing is just so wonderfully described. It's almost like I'm almost feeling like writing an essay on this. I can't go back, otherwise we won't have time. Okay, let's just start straight on our text 20. So I leave it to you, to each one of you, to please write a summary of this chapter 2. Just take pen and paper and write. It's very systematic. The way Srila Sutta Goswami is explaining the path of perfection. So this is a sequence, like Shraddha to Prema. It's a sequence. So we came to the point of how we are taking shelter of Guru. So it is Shraddha. Let's start with Shraddha. Ado Shraddha, we start with Shraddha. Then we are having sadhu sangha, we are in satsanga. Then bhajana kriya, we accept and surrender to Guru. And then comes anartha nivritti. The anarthas in the heart starts to go away. And then what happens next? We become nishtha. We become fixed. But even though we are fixed, but still there are so many anartha that is bothering us. But gradually, these anarthas will get removed. What will happen? Text 20. Evam prasana manaso bhagavat bhakti yogatah bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. So now let's study this. Prabhupada is going to enlighten us on this verse. So when we come to pure goodness, unalloyed goodness, so what happens? The man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord. Meaning that when we come to that stage of Shuddha Sattva, so what happened? So meaning the soul has to get fixed in Shuddha Sattva. Then what will happen? So the mind is satisfied and happy to be engaged in devotional service. And when we engage in devotional service, we start to experience the Supreme Lord. We actually start to experience Him, and we get to know Him. And that Supreme Lord who is unknown to everybody else. We start to understand Him, we start to know Him. And this is actual liberation from material association. Okay, let's read now. In the Bhagavad Gita 7.3, it is said that out of many thousands of ordinary men, one fortunate man endeavors for perfection in life. What's that? Manushyanam sahasreshu, right? Kaschit yatati siddhaye. Among so many who endeavors for perfection, one fortunate man endeavors for perfection. 1 minute. It's always the time. So, mostly men are conducted by the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus they are engaged always in lust, desire, hankerings, ignorance, and sleep. We have discussed that in depth last week. Out of many such men-like animals, there is actually a man who knows the responsibility of human life, and thus tries to make life perfect by following the prescribed duties. And out of many thousands of such persons who have thus attained success in human life, one may know scientifically about the person Godhead Shri Krishna. In the same Bhagavad Gita 18.55, it is also said that scientific knowledge of Shri Krishna is understood only by the process of devotional service. So this is clear to us. This is clear, all right? The very same thing is confirmed herein in the above words. No ordinary man or even one who has attained success in human life can know scientifically or perfectly the personality of Godhead. Perfection of human life is attained when one can understand that he is not the product of matter, but is in fact spirit, And as soon as one understands that he has nothing to do with matter, he at once ceases his material hankerings and becomes enlivened as a spiritual being. Becomes enlivened. He at once ceases his material hankerings and becomes enlivened as a spiritual being. Understand this? Are we able to understand this? I've already spoken about it. This attainment of success is possible when one is above the modes of ignorance and passion. Or, in other words, when one is actually a Brahmana by qualification. All right? A Brahmana is a symptom of Sattva Gun, or the mode of goodness. And others who are not in the mode of goodness are either Kshatriyas, Vaishya, Shudra, or less than the Shudras. The Brahminical stage is the highest stage of human life because of its good qualities. So one cannot be a devotee unless one at least qualifies as a Brahmana. The devotee is already a Brahmana by action, but that is not the end of it. As referred to above, such a Brahmana has to become a Vaishnava, in fact, to be actually in the transcendental stage. A pure Vaishnava is a liberated soul and is transcendental even to the position of a Brahmana. In the material stage, even a Brahmana is also a conditioned soul because although in the Brahminical stage, the conception of Brahman or transcendence is realized, scientific knowledge of the Supreme Lord is lacking. We understand this? We understand. I spoke about this from the very beginning. Are we able to understand this? Up till there?
Scientific knowledge means how?
Scientific meaning we are experiencing Krishna. Not just the theory, it's actually experiencing Krishna. Right? Like we say that when we do devotional service, we come in contact with Krishna, we experience him. And if we are not experiencing Krishna, then we should improve our devotional practices. In the material stage, even a Brahmana is also a conditioned soul because although in the Brahminical stage, the conception of Brahman or transcendence is realized, scientific knowledge of the Supreme Lord is lacking. One has to surpass the Brahminical stage and reach the Vasudeva stage to understand the personal Godhead Krishna. The science of the personality of Godhead is the subject matter for study by the postgraduate students in the spiritual line. So to be a Brahmana is not sufficient. We have to go beyond being a Brahmana. We have to reach Shuddha Sattva, what we call Vasudeva Sattva, Vasudeva stage. Men or men with a full fund of knowledge do not understand the Supreme Lord, and they interpret Krishna according to their respective whims. So they don't know Krishna, but they are reading books. I think the sixth canto, those of you, right? In the sixth canto, the whole passage was about this, trying to know and understand Krishna. So anyway, if you have time, I think you can, hear our other classes also because everything is connected. Yeah, in the sixth canto, but the details is also given in the purports. It is, however, that one cannot understand the science of the personal Godhead unless one is freed from the contamination of the material modes, even up to the stage of a Brahmana. When a qualified Brahmana factually becomes a Vaishnava in the enlivened stage of liberation, he can know what is actually the personality of Godhead. Mhm. Continue. Vidyate hridaya grantis, chidyante sarva samshayaha, chiyante chasya dharmani, drishtaivatmanishware. Shikala, you want to read?
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Translation. Thus the note in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as master. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Attaining scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead means seeing one's own self simultaneously. As far as the identity of the living being as spirit self is concerned, there are a number of speculations and misgivings. The materialist does not believe in the existence of the spirit self, and empiric philosophers believe in the impersonal feature of the whole spirit without individuality of the living beings. But the transcendentalists affirm that the soul and the supersoul are two different identities, qualitatively one, but quantitatively different. There are many other theories, but all these different speculations are at once cleared off as soon as Sri Krishna is realized in truth by the process of Bhakti Yoga. Sri Krishna is like the sun, and the materialistic speculations about the absolute truth are like the darkest midnight. As soon as the Krishna sun is arisen within one's heart, the darkness of materialistic speculations about the absolute truth and the living beings is at once cleared off. In the presence of the sun, the darkness cannot stand, and the relative truths that were hidden within the dense darkness of ignorance become clearly manifested by the mercy of Krishna, who is residing in everyone's heart as the super soul.
Yes. So here, so what are those misgivings? Number one is we don't know who we are. So attaining scientific knowledge of the person Godhead means seeing one's own self simultaneously. So this is a very important point. Now we are studying very systematically the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So the philosophy of Krishna consciousness is this, that when you see the Supreme Lord, simultaneously you see your own self. So now, here Prabhupada is referring that too many speculation about who we are. I don't know if any one of you have tried to study philosophy. Okay, is it Ushara you had written about journey of spiritual life? So many speculation are there. So as far the identity of the living being as spirit soul self is concerned, so many speculation, and I mean, just imagine we don't even know who we are, and everybody's telling one story of who you are. But the transcendentalists affirm that the soul and the super soul are two identities. All right. See, for me, confusion about this. The philosophy is saying that you are God. All right? Philosophy is saying you are God. And then when this is presented, to others, and they laugh. They say, the Hindus say they are God. So because somebody criticized us like this, I was 15 years old actually, when I was reading all this. And somebody criticized. So I took this point and I brought it to my relatives. I say, explain this. I'm Hindu. Hindus are saying we are God. Others are laughing at us. Right? So then Krishna, who's super soul, right, sent me 2 books of Prabhupada. Easy Journey to Other Planets and Perfection of Yoga. So I read it. And I heard Prabhupada wrote that soul and super soul are 2 different identities, qualitatively one, meaning we are one with God, qualitatively, but quantitatively different. Was, oh, okay, this is what it means. All right. So here in this paragraph, Prabhupada is addressing this major misgiving, meaning we don't know who we are. So first thing is to establish the identity of the soul. So there are many other theories, but all these different speculation are at once cleared off as soon as Shri Krishna's realizing truth by the process of Bhakti Yoga. It took many years of actually practicing Krishna consciousness, even though heard, but it took many years of actually practicing Krishna consciousness before it became settled that there is a difference between soul and super soul, and also that who is the Supreme Person Godhead, who are the Devas. So many things. It took years and years of practice of Krishna consciousness. So, Shri Krishna like the sun, and all the speculation are the darkest midnight. Darkest, I always say this, that's like when I reflect back, especially when I teach, I really reflect back and I think how painful it was for me picking up Prabhupada's books. I can't make head or tail of it. It's like sitting in Bhagavatam classes, asking millions of questions. I was getting, say it's layer after layer, something was going through. But then I joined courses. Okay, when I joined courses in the VIH, when we actually sat down with teachers. We actually sat down with teachers. And we studied systematically Bhagavad Gita. This Bhakti Shastri. I didn't do Bhakti Shastri, but we studied separately. At that time, it was not available to all of us. Bhagavad Gita. Then Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction. Upanishad we studied in our own temple. So these, when systematically I sat in classroom and I heard when every single day we sit in Bhagavatam classes, we hear, then I started to understand. I'm speaking of many, many long years. So this darkest midnight, believe me, my despair, I can't make head or tail of what is all this philosophy, who I am, what is Krishna, how do we realize he is here? Is it true that we will actually achieve him? Or is it just all a hoax? So as soon as the Krishna sun is arising within one's heart, the darkness of materialistic speculations about the absolute truth and the living beings are at once cleared off. In the presence of the sun, the darkness cannot stand. And the relative truths, I spent quite some time speaking of relative truth. So if you've forgotten, please go back and listen to the recordings. There's relative truth. We have spoken a lot about it, especially in the introduction. And the relative truth that were hidden within the dense darkness of ignorance become clearly manifested by the mercy of Krishna, who's residing in everyone's heart as the super soul. As maybe I was trying to say, I really felt desperate that I actually understand Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam now. I mean, it's so easy, just so easy. Yes, continue.
In the Bhagavad Gita 10.11, the Lord says that in order to show special favor to his pure devotees, he personally eradicates the dense darkness of all misgivings by switching on the light of pure knowledge within the heart of a devotee. Therefore, because of the personality of Godhead taking charge of illuminating the heart of his devotee, certainly a devotee engaged in his service in transcendental love cannot remain in darkness. He comes to know everything of the absolute and the relative truths. The devotee cannot remain in darkness, and because a devotee is enlightened by the personality of Godhead, his knowledge is certainly perfect. This is not the case of those who speculate on the absolute truth by dint of their own limited power of approach. Perfect knowledge is called parampara, or deductive knowledge coming down from the authority to the submissive oral receiver who is bona fide by service and surrender. One cannot challenge the authority of the Supreme and know him also at the same time. He reserves the right of not being exposed to such a challenging spirit of an insignificant spark of the whole, a spark subjected to the control of illusory energy. The devotees are submissive, and therefore the transcendental knowledge descends from the personality of Godhead to Brahma, and from Brahma to his sons and disciples is succession. This process is helped by the super soul within such devotees. That is the perfect way of learning transcendental knowledge. Should I go?
Yes, yeah, 1 minute.
Huh.
So I think that we have already explained also that now, like as I'm saying, the suffering that was going on in my brain, I don't have the brain to understand all this speculation, right? But when Srila Prabhupada is explaining that more important is when he is engaging us in sadhana and in service. So the sadhana and the service, so these combined together plus reading the book, it's exactly what Prabhupada is explaining here, that we become enlightened. You understand what I'm referring to? Well, you're using your brain, you're intelligent, you're trying to understand Krishna, you're understanding the world, you want to understand who you are, using brain, like your IQ, not possible, so much frustration. But when I repeat it, but when we follow the sadhana as Prabhupada has given us, and we're engaging in all the different varieties of services that Srila Prabhupada is giving, automatically Krishna starts revealing himself. And you start to understand him. So knowledge called in parampara. So what I'm saying is that we obeyed Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, do this. Get up early, chant, do your deity worship, read the books, distribute the books, cook for the deities, clean the temple for the deities, preach about Krishna to others, collect donation from people for Krishna's service, build temples for Krishna, right? All these. Of course, none of us are going to build a temple, but we can do smaller things, right? So what happened here, this is surrender, this is service and surrender, meaning, so a submissive oral receiver. Submissive oral, meaning that we are hearing and then we are accepting the instructions. But if we are not serious, we're not faithful in the practice, no, we're not submissive, then we don't get anything. We're just going to sit, and challenge each and everything that's being said or done. So you could say that we take, before Diksha, we can spend our time challenging, inquiring, etc., etc. And once we come to the point of surrender, now there is no more, then it becomes submission, accepting the instruction of Guru. And it may be some more years we can challenge, but after that, if we go on challenging, they will fall. They won't be able to maintain. And fall meaning that we will leave the association of devotees. We'll stop practicing. So we are seeing this everywhere. But Prabhupada said we have to give chance. So Prabhupada is giving chance to everyone. Yeah, continue.
This enlightenment perfectly enables the devotee to distinguish spirit from matter, because the knot of spirit and matter is untied by the Lord. This knot is called ahankar, and it falsely obliges a living being to become identified with matter. As soon as this knot is loosened, therefore, all the clouds of doubt are at once cleared off. One sees his master and fully engages himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, making a full termination of the chain of fruitive action. In material existence, a living being creates his own chain of fruitive work and enjoys the good and bad effects of those actions life after life. But as soon as he engages himself in the loving service of the Lord, he at once becomes free from the chain of karma. His actions no longer create any reaction. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
So now, what is this enlightenment? This is described here. So we have read before also. So when this soul enters matter. So a knot is created. The soul is tied to the matter, right? So this is, and this is a false identification. The soul is having a false identification, which is the ahankara. And then this, because of this ahankara, we are going to engage in so many activities other that will strengthen that knot. Strengthen that knot. But we want to cut the knot. Chindanti bhiyate bhidyate hridaya grantis. So this actually the whole problem is in the heart. The desire in the heart is what is creating that knot. So the heart has to loosen its grip over sense enjoyment. Unless and until, like we see, like I have these classes and I find people walking in and out, in and out. They will listen to one class and then they won't come back again. Why? They don't want the knot in the heart to be loosened. And they will sit there when we give the class, they will sit there in total shock. They've never heard anything like this, total shock. And then next time they will not come. Such a threat to the sense gratification. So, bhidayate hridaya grantis. So, chidyanti sarva shamshayaha. Cut to pieces sarva or shamshaya, misgivings. So many of meaning, should I give it up or should I not give it up? Should I give it up or should I not? We just watch each and every one of us. You know how we have our deep rooted attachments. And we don't want to give up. We just don't want to give up. So here, this enlightenment perfectly enables the devotee to distinguish spirit from matter because the knot of spirit and matter is untied. Oh my God, so the Supreme Lord himself will untie that knot. This knot is called ahankara, and it falsely obliges a living entity to become identified with matter. As soon as this knot is loosened, therefore, all the clouds of doubt, so this shamshaya, the clouds of doubt are at once cleared off. So when the cloud is out, remember the sun is covered by the cloud. So when the cloud is removed because of the sun, Krishna, one sees his master and fully engages himself in the transcendental service of the Lord, making a full termination of the chain of fruitive action. Now, we should know that we are responsible for our own chain of reaction. Like I just described now. It's amazing to see how, say, when we have a public class, Srimad Bhagavatam class, we have a public class. People come, they sit, they listen, and they walk out. Nobody noticed, right? Because it's so public. Somebody just happened to drop in, right? But when you are in a small group, and somebody bring a friend or a relative, right? Then it's so obvious when the person goes away. He has heard and doesn't want it again. So what happened? Because they are attached to their karma, they are themselves creating their karma. And it will continue. They don't want to give up that work that they are doing, that mood that they have, the attitude towards life that they have. They're not ready for it. So therefore, they turn their back against enlightenment. What I'm saying is that enlightenment is for everyone. It's for everyone. You have to expose yourself to the light. So if you turn your back, right, you turn your back, you don't want to know, then what do? You engage in your own work. It's your own work. It's amazing thing that whenever there is some trouble somewhere, if you notice somebody had told you don't do, be careful, don't do, that you ignore. It's amazing how we are so disobedient to good counsel. So I'm just putting aside not even spiritual life. I'm just speaking in terms of our regular life. If you're given something, a good advice in your day-to-day life, and if you don't, you're not sufficiently intelligent or humble to accept somebody's good advice. All right? What do? Chain of fruitive action. Like I just heard this one woman, so anyway, things keep on popping up on our YouTube, So it was a podcast, and she was this astrologer. She does all very nicely. She explained the whole law of karma. She explained how it is fixed. So she said that we've read it, and we've read it in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. So there are fixed karma, and then there are mixed karma, and there are karma that can be. So in course of life, so you get the result of all. And those karma that are fixed, whatever you do cannot be removed. Whatever you do cannot be removed. So she explained, I'm just speaking of all this stuff. When false astrologers, okay, they give remedy to remove whatever obstacles is on your path. All right? What do you call it? Badha, obstacles? Badha, what do you call it? So you give some remedy to remove. So she explained what happens. She said those remedies don't work. It is false. They don't work. And then what do? You become frustrated. And when you become frustrated, you become more and more angry. And that's when you start doing all types of wrong things, all types of sinful activities. So from pious to sinful. So this chain of fruitive action is based on our desire for sense enjoyment, which is arising from the ahankar, believing that we are the body and that my body should be comfortable. My body should be recognized in society. Name, fame, profit, distinction, and adoration. So these are the chain of fruitive action. But when we start to serve Krishna, then there is full termination of the chain of karma. Full termination. So now we think, somebody so sinful has done so many wrong things, right? And here he is he surrendered to Krishna and we say everything is cut, full termination, then we'll say, but this is not fair. He should suffer, right? It is not fair. But Krishna is saying that here, if the person wakes up and surrenders to Krishna, then Krishna makes a full termination, the chain of fruitive action. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't suffer what is our due. I think some of us, who are a little older, right? We know that our life is as if it's written, right? And we just live the script, right? You have no choice. It's like knowingly, willingly, I sit on a plane and I have to let the plane carry me because the destination is already prescribed, right? The journey is already there and I'm sitting on that plane. I place myself in the hand of the pilot and the plane, if it exists. So in the material existence, a living being creates his own chain of fruitive work and enjoys the good and bad effects of those actions life after life. Like I'm hearing Prabhupada saying, he said that here you are right now, we are living one lifespan, whatever it is, 40 years, 63 years, 77 years, 89 years, maximum 100, 120 years. Kalyuga 120 is the maximum. One lifespan is over. I'm creating my chain of karma. Chain of karma meaning I'm doing, and there is the law of karma that is chasing after me. And then the body, is over. The body gets over. And then what happens? You pop up, you develop another body, and the chain of karma continue to pursue us. It's just this young boy. He's a Pujari of Radharaman. So he came here, somehow we got to know him. So, how in very loose language, our language and their language is so different. Maybe I mentioned it before. So I just said that I was speaking in Hindi, So I just said, when I will leave this body, I will like this. So he repeated my words, in Hindi, and he was speaking to somebody else. He brought one gift for me, actually from Radharaman temple. So I said, this is so nice. And I said that when I'm leaving this body, I would like to have this with me, So he's repeating my words to somebody else. And what language he used? जब शरीर पूरा हो जाएगा, जब ये शरीर पूरा हो जाएगा. That was his language. When this body will get over, just like you have a toothpaste, a tube. Right? Toothpaste tube, you squeeze, right? So when everything is over, then you have to take the next tube of toothpaste, right? So this is very serious. So we are very fortunate. The previous verse said that Manushanam Sahasreshu Kaschid Yatati Siddhaye. Among thousands and thousands of men, one who is fortunate, endeavors for perfection in life. So all of you who are here, say you're very regular, so I understand that you're serious and you want. So you're most fortunate. So your chain of fruitive work, karma, is getting broken. it's going, it's like loosening, step by step, it's loosening. Loosening meaning that the soul is loosening its grip over the material body. Now it's a knot, right? The soul is a tight knot. But with your bhakti, with your practice, that knot is getting loosened. And the soul is detaching itself from the body, so that at the end of this body, you don't want this material body. Then you can be free. But you will want this only when you know Krishna. If you're not experiencing Krishna, how will you give up the attachment to the body? So, but as soon as he engages himself in the loving service of the Lord, he at once becomes free from the chain of karma. His action no longer creates any reaction. Any question on this?
Mataji, just yesterday I heard Srila Prabhupada's class, and the same thing. The title was, trap of sakarma, good activities. So he's saying good activities, trap of pious activities. So we are creating bodies. So stop creating bodies. Same thing you said, that
Yeah.
we are. So, so we understand this, Mataji. Yes, when you say it, we understand it. But my worry is that it remains only for say 5 to 10 minutes after your class in our mind, in my consciousness. Why we are not becoming
Yeah, we have to
understanding?
Our method to break this cycle of birth of death is hearing. We have to go on hearing. I heard Prabhupada saying, like a psychiatrist or psychologist, whatever it is, So how does he, cue people? He go on talking until he penetrates into the consciousness of the person. So if we will just do, once a week or once every 2 weeks, we pop up, open your book, what will happen? That every day you have to hear. Every single day you must hear. And again, I'm saying, it's good to, listen to occasional lectures here and there, topical. It's good, but you have to study systematically also. So here we're doing a systematic study, but VIHE.org has got very systematic classes. This is the only institute in the whole of ISKCON that is gathering and publishing each and every classes that they are giving. So it's a treasure.
It's online, Mataji?
Yeah, VIHE.org.
So we can
The
enroll in
audio.
some classes online.
No. I'm saying audio recordings. Audio recordings. See now, as I said, let's say Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, I have studied. I've heard it, and then I was teaching myself Bhagavad Gita for 10 solid years. When I sat down in Bhakti Chaitanya Swami's class, after 10 years of teaching Bhagavad Gita, when I sat in his class, I said, oh my God, what was I teaching? It's available on VIHE.org. I think so. But I studied Bhagavad Gita from him. And then when I started reading more and more in Bhagavad Gita, to teach Bhakti Shastri, then I said, oh my God, I can't understand this. So what did I do? I popped back to VIHE.org with Bhurijan Prabhu's classes. All right, Bhakti Shastri. And now he has taught only this much. But in Bhakti Shastri itself, the thing is Bhakti Purna Chandra Maharaj. He was teaching the last section of Bhagavad Gita, 13 to 18. when I had him, tail of this 13 to 18, day, and if you're not serious. So what I'm saying is that even after taking so many courses, you're not going to understand it. You have to constantly listen, be serious about it. And best thing, you have to teach whatever you're learning now. You know, those who are new after 3 years, you should be able to form your own group and teach. When you start teaching, that's when you will learn. Correct? Oh, bell is ringing. All right, so we managed to do 2 verses today. We won't take the next one because otherwise we will another half hour. So am I convincing you that you should study here? You know, not just come pop up here, you know, once a week or when we are not able to attend or I'm not available or whatever, you know. How will you learn? This is a serious thing. And please do attend classes in your temples.
Yes, yes, Mataji. What
Or,
you're saying
or,
is very,
or,
very.
yeah, or your sangha, either your temple or your sangha.
Mhm. Yeah,
See
now
some,
online facilities are there. So we can actually attend Bhagavatam class also morning, wherever.
yeah, yeah, and listen to those classes which is nearest to you, wherever you live. Listen to those classes which are nearest to you. Because then you can join in,
Yeah,
right? You can join in.
yeah. Mhm.
You know the flow. Temple, it is they're studying first canto. In Juhu now the 11th canto. Somewhere else is 6th canto. How will you study? It's time pass. You should listen to classes that is just next door to you. Either your preaching center, your temple, or your sangha. I don't know what they do in sanghas. See, in sangha, they will just preach to new people, then you will get bored. You want to move forward, right? So sangha also, I don't know what they do. They have to be very systematic. Just become a social gathering. The sangha become a social gathering. You're happy to go there to meet your friends. Do little aarti, take prasadam, and hear little so-called katha and spend 1 hour gossiping. It's good to be among friends, and then you go on yatra together. It's the party. So this process will not happen. This process will not happen. You have to make your endeavors. To ask or say, Hare Krishna. Panchakalpatarubhascha,
Vaishnava Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.